Hi! Today I'm going to be making something for the holiday season. It is 11 days until Christmas, and I am going to make myself a little pinafore dress to wear on that day. My goal is to see if I can draft and sew a pinafore slash dress off of just a pattern envelope, specifically this pattern envelope. So this, you might recognize this, it's something that Rachel Maxey did in one of her videos a couple of years ago, and I think it was a couple of years ago, and I fell in love with the pattern, which is from the 1940s, but I cannot find it for sale anywhere. Can't even find something similar to it, really. I decided after about an hour of searching for it that it really wasn't worth my time to keep looking for one to buy when I can just draft it myself. I'm going to use the bodice blocks that I drafted for myself back in 2021. I'm going to make myself a little plaid 1940s style pinafore dress. I'm going to make a couple of key changes to it, but first I need to sketch out what I want it to look like and what I think that the pattern pieces need to look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have my sketch done. I've got the actual, thing that I want to make, and then I've got the 7 pattern pieces. I think it's 7. Yeah, 7 pattern pieces that I need to do. You've got strap, bodice front right, that's the underlap, bodice front left, that's the overlap, the back skirt, the right side skirt, which is going to stop at center front or something, and then the left side skirt, which is going to overlap and have the buttonholes, but they're only going to be real going about 9 inches down, 7 inches, 9 inches, because I want to sew most of the front shut so it can't flap open or anything. It's going to be just below the knee, I think. Okay, so I have to draft my pattern, but first I'm going to do some holiday decorating because there's nothing up in here. Like you can see, it's just normal stuff. So I'm going to do some holiday decorating, and I will start drafting when I've got that done. Okay, so that's a lie. I did not decorate right then. I did it like 3 days later, but we'll just cut in some festive decorating footage and we'll just pretend. Okay, so I have traced both of my pattern pieces out. I've got my bodice block front, my bodice block back, and I'm going to start with the front. So my goal is for this to look like, where did I put I already lost my sketch. Lol. Okay, so I need for this to look like that somehow. Based on both the envelope art as well as Rachel's version of this, I think I need to try to get rid of this dart if I can. I don't really know how to do that, but like have it still fit me, but I'm gonna just try it and see how it looks. Okay, so the first thing I did was to extend the dart legs so that I could slice the paper and shift all of the dart fullness down into the bottom dart. This took a couple of tries to get the lines right. I cut it and then I closed that top dart. There is a kind of insane amount of tape involved in this process. So once I had kind of, patched the dart hole, I redrew the legs and used yet more tape. So I've got that. So to get the front length, I'm going to kind of cheat and use part of a pattern that I have already made before. So I used the front panel of a princess seamed bodice that I knew fit me well to find where the top of the neck should be, since it goes straight across from where the strap is. It was pretty easy to do. So I just extended the line up to that point and then drew a line across that was square with the center front. I used the same method to get my underarm curve, which I did end up changing a little bit at one point. It was a little too curvy. At that point I had the first draft of the bodice front done for the underlap side. And now we'll do the back. So the first thing that I did with the back is I lowered the dart end a little bit because it went all the way up into where I knew the seam allowance would be, which basically would have turned it into a princess seam, and I really wanted it to be a dart. So to do the back, I used that same pattern that I knew fit me well to find the highest point and kind of compare it to like that side seam. Really what I should have done is just squared off from the center back over to the side seam. So I ended up making some weird line from this weird diagonal-ish line from the center back to the top of the side seam, and I ended up fixing that later because what it happened was that it basically made like the top of the back not square with the center back, and it didn't look very good. Okay, so I've got the bodice back drafted, the bodice front for the side that does not overlap, and this currently goes to the center front. I may be like scooching it in a bit like towards this dart. Probably will, just because there's gonna be like a lot of like too much overlap, so it'll probably look more like that when I'm done. And then I've got the piece with the overlap. So what I did was I copied the no overlap piece, then I mirrored it over so that you know, we have the nice straight top, and up to, this is actually the first dart leg, and then I did extend this so this does curve down slightly and it matches the like it mirrors exactly so that there won't be any weird like flappy bits. So I'm going to mock this up, just the bodice part as well as straps, and then once I've checked to see, oop, didn't realize that was there. Once I have confirmed that this actually does fit, and I will probably check in once I've got that mock-up sewn up. Okay, so I'm going to be making a couple of adjustments to my mock-up. It's actually pretty close, I feel like, to like the art. Like, it's got the dart, it's got the overlap, this is where the buttons are going to go, it's got the like kind of wider straps. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to be lowering the end of the dart a little bit. It's just coming up a little too high. And then I'm going to lower the back a little bit. It's a little too high. I think like maybe half an inch or a quarter of an inch. I'm going to be moving my straps in towards my neck just a little bit, like a quarter of an inch. I have to lengthen it by a quarter of an inch because it's just a tiny bit too short, and what's gonna happen is like my waist is gonna be too high and it's gonna bother me. So I may even do 3/8 of an inch. And then I need to increase the waist. I'm gonna increase it by a quarter of an inch on each piece, like each side of the pattern pieces. A little bit more room. It's really tight right now, so it's like actually difficult to pin. So I'm going to make those adjustments to the pattern, and then I will start working on the actual dress. Okay, so I've got a couple of different fabrics that are going to go into this. I've got a off-white that is going to be my hem facing. I have this black cotton, which is going to be my bodice lining and the facing for the buttonholes. And then I have this truly enormous tablecloth. It was only 15 bucks, so this is gonna be the dress. So to make the straps, I cut the lining piece 1/8 of an inch smaller than the plaid fabric, so that when I stitch it together with each of the sides lined up, the plaid fabric ended up slightly larger and kind of bubbling out. So what happens when you sew it together like that is that when you press it, none of the lining fabric will be showing on the other side and you don't have to understitch it. I didn't want to even bother trying to understitch this. So basically you create this little tube, make sure that the outer fabric is bubbled up, basically. It's just wider than the other one. And then when you flip it and press it, you won't see any of the underside. Okay, time to attach the back, the left side, and the right side all together at the side seams. And then I get to do all of the same steps I just did with the lining pieces. And once I'm done with that, I can attach the straps and sew the skirt together. Okay, so I'm just sewing up these side seams on the bodice here. It's pretty straightforward. And then time to attach the skirt panels together. Then I sandwiched the straps in between the main fabric and the lining, pinned it together, and stitched it together. Okay, so I've got the dress almost done. I've got the bodice put together, I've got the straps on. I never actually talked about the differences between this and the original that I decided to do, because on the original there's actually a waistband here, and I just kind of didn't want to deal with that, so I didn't do it. Other than that, I would say that like the neckline, the straps, even the length are probably fairly similar. I originally did want to do a full circle skirt on this, but it turns out that the amount of fabric I had was not enough for that because it was in fact just a tablecloth. So I had to make probably like a 60% circle skirt is what I think it probably is. It's a little strange, but it's swishy enough to make me happy. So I need to do a couple more things before I can hem this and call it done. I'm gonna sew these two front edges down. I'm gonna sew the front edges of the bodice down, and then I'm going to go ahead and hem it, and then I'm going to do my buttons, and then I'll be done. Okay, so I have got most of the dress itself finished. However, I need to make my hem facing. So I've cut the hem facing pieces out of a off-white quilting cotton that I've had in my stash for a while, and I just need to stitch those together and turn them into one long strip, and then I'm going to pin it to the hem, stitch it, flip it, and then I need to iron down the top edge of this by like, I don't know, half an inch or something, all the way around, and then I'm going to probably hand stitch that down. I know I could do blind hem, but like, and I'd rather just not deal with it. So I'm going to attach these together, and when you see me next, I will have a long strip of this stuff. So, see you in a minute. Okay, here is my hem facing. It is all sewn together, and I also pressed the seams, and I pressed a ½ inch down all the way along the top, because this is where I'm going to stitch it to the actual bottom of the skirt. This is going to be where I kind of attach it to the upper part, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pin this on and hem the skirt. Okay, so I've got the dress hemmed. I still have to take out the basting stitches starting here, but I've got this really lovely, well, I think it's lovely, got this really clean looking hem. So next up, it is buttonhole time, which I've been kind of dreading. I've got them all marked out. So I'm gonna do the buttonholes. I hand stitched the lining to the skirt already, so it's all ready to go. Just gotta do buttonholes. We're about that last little bit of basting at the hem, and then add the buttons. Unfortunately, I am very low on the thread color that I was using on this. I'm hoping that my backup kind of blends in good enough. Not really, but there's very little I can do about it. And I think, like, the buttons will be there, so it should be fine. Okay, so I actually ended up using a different thread color on the lower half of the dress, because I realized that that entire section was over a green part of the plaid, so the color was going to look different anyway than the top. So I actually took a kind of muted brick color and used that for the buttonholes. I did all of my buttonholes by machine, and I did, I think, 3 of my buttons by hand, and then realized, oh, I can do these by machine and save myself like a ton of time. And after this point, I think I finished this dress about 8 minutes later. Not counting, you know, clipping threads and tying ends and stuff. And with that, it was done and ready to wear. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and a Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and I will see you in the new year. Bye.